What if what you call a mistake were actually your soul's call to awaken? Pain is not cosmic punishment nor accident of fate. It is a silent teacher whispering to your heart, wake up to what truly matters. When everything seems to crumble around you, when doors close one after another, when the ground disappears beneath your feet, something profound within you is trying to be born. The apparent chaos is not disorder, but divine reordering. Today you will discover that suffering possesses a secret map, a sacred geometry that few can see through their tears. This map doesn't lead away from pain, but through it, directly back to your heart, where the healing you sought in the outer world has always been. Divine intelligence is rearranging the entire universe in your favor, even when every external evidence screams otherwise. Paramahansa Yogananda taught that adversity comes not to destroy, but to awaken latent powers sleeping within every soul. Suffering is the alchemical fire that purifies consciousness, removing layers of ego and revealing the divinity that was always present, merely obscured by false identifications. This is not poetic consolation to soften pain. It is precise description of spiritual mechanics that operate whether you believe it or not. All authentic spiritual traditions recognize this truth under different names. In Hinduism, it's called tapas, the sacred heat that refines the spirit as gold is refined in fire. In Buddhism, it's the first noble teaching. Understanding the nature of suffering is the beginning of liberation, not the end of it. In mystical Christianity, it's the inner cross, the exact point where the human surrenders to the divine and discovers there was never separation. The language changes, but the experience is universal. Suffering is portal, not prison. Suffering is life's push when we resist our own expansion. It arises precisely in moments when the soul is ready to grow, but the personality insists on remaining small, comfortable, controlled. Pain doesn't come to punish your inadequacy. It comes to polish the soul that temporarily forgot its true nature. Every moment of suffering carries within it the exact seed of transformation your consciousness is ready to accomplish. The soul suffers when personality insists on walking alone, separated from the light that created and sustains it. This separation is illusory, but its consequences are real until the illusion is undone. When everything goes wrong according to your plans, the universe is correcting the course of your destiny, realigning you with purposes your small mind cannot yet see. What seems obstacle is loving redirection. Genuine healing begins the moment you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What does this pain want to teach me?" This simple shift in perspective transforms you from victim to student, from passive sufferer to active alchemist. The pain remains present, but your relationship with it transforms completely. And in this transformation of relationship lies all healing power. But what if all suffering were precisely calibrated to awaken exactly the qualities your soul needs to develop in this incarnation? What if each pain carried within it not just the lesson, but also the strength necessary to learn it? What few realize is that the intensity of suffering is proportional to the depth of transformation it's preparing, and that no pain is wasted in the divine economy of evolution. Every painful event is a lesson of return. The energy we once cast into the universe returns to us, not to hurt, but to harmonize. This is the true nature of karma, not punishment from a capricious cosmic judge, but mathematical law of balance and learning. Karma functions like a patient teacher presenting the same lesson in increasingly intense formats until we finally learn what needs to be learned. Karma is not punishment, it's balance seeking to restore itself through your consciousness. When doors close, when opportunities vanish, when relationships end, the divine is whispering, this road no longer serves your level of consciousness. You've evolved beyond this path, but haven't realized it yet. The closed door is blessing in disguise, protection against investing energy in directions that no longer resonate with who you're becoming. Everything we lose frees us from something that no longer served us, even when the loss hurts beyond what we can bear. In the desert of loss, when all external supports disappear, the heart finally learns to hear the sound of God, that silent vibration that was always present, but was muffled by the noise of activities and attachments. Loss is not ending, but cleansing that prepares space for the new. There was a traveler who carried heavy stones in his backpack, thinking they were precious treasures. Each stone represented an attachment, a fear, a false identity. The path became more difficult with each step, but he refused to release the stones. Only when the backpack finally tore and the stones fell, did he discover that beneath them was the true map to his destination, invisible while the weight of stones occupied all space. Everything that goes wrong outside you reflects something asking for healing inside you. The outer world is a precise mirror of your inner state of consciousness. Changing the reflection requires changing the observer, not breaking the mirror. This truth seems cruel when you're suffering, because the last thing we want to hear in pain is that we're responsible for it. But responsibility is not blame. It's power of transformation. Observe your emotions with the same scientific curiosity a botanist observes a rare plant. They reveal the subconscious beliefs still imprisoning your consciousness in old patterns of suffering. Every intense emotional reaction is a marker pointing to an unhealed wound, a limiting belief, a false identification waiting to be undone. When the mind quiets enough to stop justifying and defending, the wisdom of the heart can finally reveal itself. The liberating question is not, who did this to me, but which part of me still resists love? This question cuts through all layers of victimization and self-deception, taking you directly to the core where true healing awaits. Resistance to love manifests in 1,000 different forms: judgment, criticism, fear, control, need to be right. But all are variations of the same theme: belief in separation. There was a king tormented by nightmares about invisible enemies plotting to destroy him. He built ever higher walls, but the nightmares continued. Until a sage told him, the enemies you fear live within the walls you built. When the king finally had courage to look inward, instead of guarding the exterior, he discovered that each imagined enemy was merely an aspect of himself he had rejected, and that now sought to be reintegrated. In Buddhism, suffering is born from attachment, from the impossible attempt to hold what must flow, to make permanent what is naturally transitory. Buddha taught that all suffering originates in thirst, in desire that wants to transform the impermanent into eternal. Healing is not in getting what we desire, but in transforming our relationship with desire, keeping it light, fluid, without claws. In Hinduism, suffering is manifestation of Maya, the veil of illusion creating the experience of separation from the divine self. Atman, the individual soul, is eternally one with Brahman, universal consciousness. But Maya creates the experience of separation, and from this illusory separation, all suffering is born. Pain forces us to question the illusion, to penetrate the veil, to remember our true nature. In mystical Christianity, suffering is the dark night of the soul, that period of apparent divine abandonment preceding illumination. St. John of the Cross described this state where all spiritual consolations disappear and the seeker feels completely alone. But this loneliness is not abandonment. It's final purification before mystical union. God doesn't abandon the soul in the dark night. He removes the crutches so it learns to fly. All authentic traditions speak the same truth in different languages. Suffering is the birth of consciousness. There is no awakening without passage through the portal of pain, because it's pain that finally forces us to question the false identifications we defend so fiercely. What hurts is merely opening space in the temple of consciousness for the being you truly are. And this being is too large to fit within the tight limits of the old personality. Breathe consciously, bringing all your attention to the subtle movement of air entering and leaving. In the moment of inspiration, affirm mentally, "I welcome what is," allowing present reality to be exactly as it is, without resistance. In the moment of expiration, declare, "I release what was," letting go of stories, resentments, unfulfilled expectations. This simple practice dissolves layers of resistance, keeping suffering alive. Meditate on the center of your heart, visualizing a golden flame igniting in your chest. This is not empty fantasy, but activation of real energetic center where your divine essence dwells. Allow this flame to grow with each breath, expanding until it fills your entire body with golden light. See this light touching every painful memory, every unhealed wound, every pattern of suffering, not to forcefully erase them, but to transmute them into wisdom. Repeat in silence, with total conviction, this affirmation of power. Nothing happens to me, everything awakens me. Let these words penetrate beyond the conscious mind, reprogramming the deep layers where beliefs about suffering are rooted. You're not denying the pain, you're choosing a different relationship with it, one that transforms experience into evolution. Completely silence the mind for a few minutes after the exercise. This silence is not emptiness, but fullness. It's in the space between thoughts that grace works its deepest transformations. In silence, you're doing nothing, but everything is being done in you by an intelligence that knows exactly what your soul needs. And here's the revelation that changes everything. What you call wound may actually be your initiation, the mark signaling you were chosen for a specific transformation that only this particular pain could catalyze. The soul chose certain pains before birth, not from cosmic masochism, but from profound love for evolution. This is the difficult truth that can only be understood when you finally access the soul's perspective, not the personality's. From the limited perspective of ego, suffering is always unfair, always unnecessary. From the expanded perspective of soul, each pain is precisely calibrated opportunity to develop specific qualities that couldn't be developed any other way. What seemed absolute ruin is actually harbinger of spiritual birth. Like the butterfly that must struggle to exit the cocoon, if someone helps by cutting the cocoon, it dies, because the struggle is precisely what strengthens its wings for flight. Suffering is not cosmic cruelty, but necessary training for consciousness about to fly. Pain is the exact point where ego breaks and the divine finally can enter the space ego occupied so rigidly. When you stop running from pain, when you finally turn and face it directly with total presence, something extraordinary happens. It transforms into light, not because the pain was false, but because you discovered you're larger than it, that you can contain pain without being destroyed by it, can traverse it without being defined by it. And in this discovery, a new you is born, forged in the fire of suffering and now indestructible. What suffering always wanted to show you from the beginning is that you were never alone, that at the deepest point of pain, when all human supports disappear, there's a presence that never fails. This presence doesn't magically remove pain, but gives you strength to endure it, wisdom to understand it, and grace to transform it into blessing. Suffering is the stern teacher, forcing you to find this presence, and once found, you discover it was always there, waiting for you to stop seeking comfort in 1,000 wrong places. When something goes wrong, breathe deeply before reacting and declare, "I choose to learn, not resist." This simple phrase interrupts the automatic pattern of victimization and opens space for conscious response instead of unconscious reaction. You're not pretending the situation is good, you're choosing to use the situation as teacher, not as enemy. In relationships, every conflict is mirror revealing something in you asking for healing. The person who most irritates you is showing you, unknowingly, an aspect of yourself you reject. Instead of blaming the other, Ask, what in this person reflects something I need to recognize in myself? This question transforms conflict into opportunity for self-knowledge, drama into portal of growth. In financial challenges, when scarcity tightens, ask, what does this lack want to teach me about trust? Material scarcity forces you to develop inner resources, creativity, resilience, faith, discernment about what's truly necessary. Material abundance can lull the soul to sleep. Scarcity awakens it. Don't romanticize poverty, but use it when it comes as fuel for evolution. In health, when the body screams through illness, remember, the body speaks what the soul whispered for a long time and you ignored. Disease is not enemy, but messenger, bearer of information about imbalances needing correction. Make adversity an altar where you offer your resistance. Make error a prayer where you ask not to be spared from pain, but to have strength to traverse it with dignity and extract from it all the wisdom it carries. True healing is not making everything go right according to your plans. It's learning to remain at peace even when everything goes wrong. This peace is not passive resignation nor defeatist acceptance, but inner strength born from understanding that you're larger than any circumstance. When you finally understand this viscerally, not just intellectually, suffering completely loses its power to hurt you. You begin to live on a new axis, no longer the horizontal axis of personality oscillating between pleasure and pain, success and failure, but the vertical axis of soul remaining centered regardless of what happens around. This new axis is not indifferent to the world, but participation without identification. You act fully, but aren't destroyed when results don't come. Everything that was once pure pain becomes fuel for your enlightenment. The same experiences that could have destroyed you now strengthen you. The same losses that could have embittered you now soften you. The same betrayals that could have closed you now open you to deeper understanding of human nature. You become alchemist, transforming lead into gold, not denying that lead exists, but revealing the gold that was always hidden within it. You become, then, a healer of the world, not because you solved all problems, but because you learned to heal yourself with love. And this love is not passing feeling, but profound understanding that everything is interconnected, that your healing contributes to collective healing, that each moment of suffering transformed into wisdom illuminates not only you, but all who touch your presence. You discover you were healed not despite suffering, but through it. And this discovery is the very miracle you were seeking. The most fragrant flower is born from the darkest soil, and its fragrance is exactly proportional to the depth of darkness it traversed to reach the light. May your pain transform into perfume of wisdom, healing not only you, but all who breathe your presence. May you look at the past, at every error and wound, and say with genuine gratitude, nothing was in vain. Everything conspired to bring me exactly here, to this understanding, to this peace. The soul doesn't break, never broke. It merely changes form to fit more light, expands its boundaries to include more compassion, deepens its roots to withstand greater storms. If this message touched something deep in you, if these words resonated with the part of you that always knew suffering has greater purpose, leave your digital mark in this moment. Touch like not just to support this channel, but as affirmation that you're ready to transform your own pain into portal of evolution. Subscribe to continue receiving these spiritual guidances that can make the difference in the darkest moments of the journey. Share this video with someone who's suffering now. Perhaps it's exactly the ray of hope the universe wants to send through you to that soul. And leave in the comments your own affirmation of power, your declaration that you are light even in the storm, that you choose to learn from every adversity, that you recognize suffering as master, not as enemy. Repeat now with me with total faith. I am the peace nothing can shake. May the blessing of the divine envelop you in this moment and in all future moments. May you find strength when you think you have no more, hope when everything seems lost, and wisdom to see the sacred purpose hidden in every trial. May you remember, in the most difficult moments, that pain is not end but passage, not punishment but learning, not abandonment but invitation to dive deeper into your own divinity. You are never alone and never will be. The present sustaining stars also sustains you, and this presence never fails.